The most expensive item on your winterization bill is the one that takes the technician about 4 minutes. Your yard will charge you between $400 and $700 this fall for a job that costs, in parts, less than a tank of gas for the tow vehicle. And the markup is not the worst part. The worst part is that the one step that can actually kill your engine is the step they spend the least time on, and if they get it wrong, their own paperwork says they owe you nothing. There are 6 line items on a standard winterization invoice. 5 you can do yourself in an afternoon with parts from a Walmart. 1 is the only one that matters. None of it is a hardware problem. No lift, no heated shop, and none of the impeller job the counter will push you toward. The one running $546 on an Alpha drive this season. By the end of this video, you will know what every line on that bill costs at retail, the exact sequence for your engine type, the drain points that get missed, and the one line in your insurance policy that decides whether any of this was smart. Remember 2 words: single point drain. They come back hard at number 1, and they are why a man in a documented forum thread is staring at an $1,100 quote for manifolds he was certain he had already protected. Before number 6, one thing. The scariest bill in boating is not the big obvious one. It is the one where you find out afterward that the repair was $50 in parts, and you paid $2,000 because nobody told you which 4 bolts to touch or in what order. That feeling of signing a blank check because you did not know any better is why I built the $50 Fix Bible inside the bilge files. Jobs like this one, itemized, $47, one time at hullhonest.com, link below. Now, number 6. Number 6 on your bill. Fuel stabilizer. The belief is that stabilizer is something professional grade out of a drum in the back of the shop. It comes out of the same bottle you can buy on a shelf. 32 ounces of sta-bil storage stabilizer is $12.48 at Walmart, and that bottle treats 80 gallons. On a 20-gallon tank, you just used $3 of product. The fix takes 90 seconds. Pour the dose, then run the engine long enough that treated fuel is actually sitting in the carburetors or the injectors. That is where it goes wrong. Stabilizer in the tank does nothing for a bowl full of untreated ethanol. And settle the tank question, because the manufacturers openly disagree. Yamaha says store it full with stabilizer. Mercury says that for 2 months or more, it is best to completely remove all fuel from the tank. BoatUS splits it. A built-in tank goes into winter nearly full, so there is no airspace for condensation. A portable tank comes off and gets emptied. $3, 90 seconds. Number 5 is the one everybody films and nobody understands. Number 5. Fogging. The belief is that fogging is the heart of winterizing. It is the dramatic part. You spray, the motor coughs white smoke, it dies, and it feels like you accomplished something. Fogging oil is corrosion protection. It coats the cylinder walls and rings, so a cold, wet, sitting engine does not surface rust over 5 months. That is all it does. It has nothing to do with freezing. Fog a motor perfectly, leave a cup of water in a passage, and in February you own a cracked casting. A beautifully oiled one. A 12-ounce can runs $8 to $10 and does several motors. Spray into the intake until it smokes and stalls, or pull the plugs and shoot a burst into each cylinder. Now a myth worth killing, because the comments repeat it every October. If you own a BRP Evinrude e-tec, do not buy fogging oil at all. That motor fogs itself. Per Evinrude's own operator literature, a throttle key sequence drops it into a fast idle where it self-lubricates through the oil injection system and shuts down in about a minute. Optimax and the older Ficht motors do not do that. Fog those by hand. And a carbureted 2-stroke gets fogged, then hung vertical so the cooling passages gravity drain on their own. $10, 10 minutes. Number 4 is where you finally spend real money, and it is still under $15. Number 4. Lower unit oil. Everybody knows this one matters and nobody knows what it costs. A quart of Quicksilver SAE 90 gear lube is $13.99 straight from Mercury. The sealing washers are $1 for the pair, and the reason it matters is not lubrication, it is diagnosis. You drain from the bottom screw into a clean pan, and the color of what comes out is a free seal inspection. Dark and clean is fine. Milky coffee-colored means water is getting past a seal, and water left in a gear case over a hard winter freezes and splits the housing. That is a spring problem you found in October. For free. Refill from the bottom until clean lube comes out the top vent. Plug the vent first, then the drain. That is $55 of parts if you bought all three today. Number 3 is where I have to be straight with you, because my own title is doing some rounding. Number 3. Oil and filter. I called this a $40 afternoon. That is honest for a carbureted 2-stroke. Stabilizer, fogging oil, gear lube, washers, and you are done between $30 and $45. It is not honest for a 4-stroke, and I will not pretend otherwise. 150 horse 4-stroke holds 4 to 5 quarts, and marine-rated 25 weight 40 oil is $8 to $10 a quart before the filter. Call it $50 to $75. On a sterndrive with antifreeze stacked on top, $60 to $160. So the real numbers are these. 2-stroke, $40. 4-stroke, $70. Sterndrive, call it $100. Against a dealer bill running from $320 for a 2-stroke up to $679.99 for a 6 or 8-cylinder inboard-outboard. On a published Ontario rate sheet this season. The savings are still enormous. They are just not the same ratio on every engine, and I would rather you hear that from me than find it at the register. Pull back and look at what we have counted. Not one of those 4 items needs a tool costing over $30. Not one needs a lift or a certification. 4 line items, $55 of consumables, about an hour next to your own motor. Everything above that is somebody's labor hour, and I will show you whose. Number 2. Antifreeze. The belief is that antifreeze is the protection. Pink goes in, engine is safe, antifreeze is the backup. Draining is the protection. Get that backwards and you do what thousands of owners do every fall, which is pour glycol into a block still holding 3 gallons of lake water, dilute it down to a freeze point that protects nothing, and feel good about it. Generic minus 50-degree propylene glycol, that is propylene glycol, is $3.98 a gallon at Walmart. A 4-cylinder sterndrive block takes 2 to 3 gallons once drained. $12 of fluid on a $626 invoice. And watch this line on an outboard specifically. An outboard is self-draining. If a shop bills you antifreeze on a standard outboard, you paid for pink liquid that left the motor 5 minutes after they shut it off. Which brings us to the only item on this invoice that can cost you an engine. Number 1. The drain points. Mercury Marine's own guidance says it is very important to displace all water from the cooling system, and that if it freezes, that water can cause significant damage. Here is how significant. Per the 10-year claims analysis GEICO and BoatUS published this August, more than 3/4 of all freeze damage claims involved cracks in the engine block or the exhaust manifolds, from water left in the engine during a hard freeze. Not skipped fogging, not old gear lube. Water. The physics are not subtle. Per BoatUS and the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources, water expands about 9% when it freezes and pushes outward with a force of tens of thousands of pounds per square inch. Your block loses that argument every time. And here is the fact that ends the usual excuse. In that same claims data, Texas has more than 7 times the freeze damage claims of Minnesota. Florida has more than Minnesota. It is not a cold state problem, it is a complacency problem. So drain everything. And now those 2 words come back. Modern sterndrives have a single-point system, a blue or brass valve meant to drain the whole block and both manifolds at once. Wonderful when it works. When it does not, it lies to you. Those small drain hoses silt up. A little water dribbles out, you assume you are done, and 2 gallons are still sitting in your block behind a plugged hose. That is the trap. A MerCruiser owner documented online pulled all 4 block drain plugs like the book says, never cleared the hoses, and came back in spring to cracked exhaust manifolds. $1,100 for manifolds and risers, with better than a 50% chance the block was gone too. And on the common 4.3 and 5.7 stern drives, a cracked block means a long block, which owners document at $5,000 to $6,000. So kill it properly. Open every drain point, and there are more than the single point valve admits. Both sides of the block, both manifolds, the low point of every hose, the raw water pump housing, the oil cooler. Then take stiff wire and poke every drain hole until you get a stream, not a dribble. You are not verifying the valve opened. You are verifying water is leaving. Then, and only then, refill with glycol. Drain first, fill second. Never fill instead of drain. And closed cooling owners get burned constantly. Closed cooling means your engine side is a sealed loop. The raw water side, the heat exchanger, the manifolds, the risers, and the hoses still holds lake water. It protects half your engine and none of your exhaust. I tear into this industry like this every week, and the list of things they would rather you never price out yourself does not get shorter. If that is your kind of afternoon, subscribe, now the pushback, and it is the right one. You are thinking, you just told me a mist drain hose costs $6,000, so why would I not pay $500 to a professional who does this 200 times a season? And you would be completely right. So here is the honest answer, and it costs my own argument something. The yard is not your insurance policy, and their own paperwork says so out loud. A New Jersey marina storage agreement states the yard shall not be liable even if the loss is caused solely or partially by the yard's negligence, and caps liability at $2,000 or the storage charge, whichever is less. A Massachusetts marina states it is not responsible for freeze damage when the owner books hauling after October 30th. But read your policy tonight, because this is the real one. Ice and freeze damage is commonly excluded from a marine policy unless you asked for it as a rider. The BoatUS and GEICO endorsement covers it only if the boat is winterized to the manufacturer's specifications by a commercial marine facility. A Toronto marine broker puts it harder, saying insurers refuse ice and freeze claims unless you can prove professional winterizing, and that they typically demand a receipt. There is a counterweight, and I will give it to you. GEICO Marine's Vice President Mike Pellerin has said that when freeze damage happens after a do-it-yourselfer winterizes, having ice and freeze coverage can help protect the owner. So the endorsement is not dead for a DIY owner. But the language is written around a commercial facility. It has been quoted as low as $25, and the cutoff to add it is the end of October. So the honest verdict: call your insurer before you touch anything. One question: does my policy cover freeze damage if I winterize it myself? Get it in writing. If the answer is no, $500 a year buys you a receipt, and the receipt is the product, and some of you write the check regardless. A boat staying in the water all winter. Twin diesels. A closed cooling inboard you have never opened. Nowhere legal to drain used oil. A marina whose rules forbid owner work. Any of those, pay them and sleep. So why does the bill say $500? Because fall is how a northern yard survives its slow season. Sales stop, repair work thins, and winterization is what fills technician hours from September to November. The Trade Association for Marine Dealers coaches this openly, asking dealers in its own service material, if you do not sell all of your available labor hours, you have lost that revenue forever. That is not a conspiracy. It is a business model, printed in their own trade material. A marine claims adjuster with 21 years in the field has said winterization should only take an hour for a boat under 26 feet on a trailer. You get billed the flat package either way, and published sheets put that package at $430 for a 4-stroke outboard and $600 for a sterndrive. Watch the padding too. Impeller replacement billed every single year when Mercury's own interval on many 4-strokes is 3 years or 300 hours. So here is your sequence. First, call the insurance company. One question, in writing. Second, add stabilizer and run the engine to temperature so treated fuel reaches the carburetors or injectors. Third, on a sterndrive or inboard, drain everything while the engine is warm. Every plug, every hose low point, every cooler. Poke each hole with wire until you see a stream. Fourth, refill with propylene glycol until it runs pink out of the exhaust for a solid 30 seconds. Fifth, change the oil and filter while it is warm. so the acids leave with the oil instead of sitting in the pan for 5 months. Sixth, drain and refill the gear case, and look hard at what comes out. Seventh, fog it, unless you own an e-tec, which fogs itself. Eighth, pull the battery and store the drive down, and I will be straight about the friction. Your first time on a sterndrive, this is not an afternoon. Give it 4 hours and a printed diagram of your block, because you will spend most of it hunting a drain plug hiding behind something. Year 2, it is 90 minutes. Now where the money should actually go. Cheapest leverage first. $12 of stiff wire and a proper drain plug wrench, because the catastrophic risk here is verification, not chemicals. Then a gravity flow antifreeze fitting for the garden hose, which is the DIY version of the dealer's immersion tank. Then, last, the impeller. Not annually because the invoice says so, but on your own manual's interval. The one thing genuinely worth paying for is the thing nobody itemizes. Experienced eyes on a motor every 3 or 4 years, catching a weeping seal before it becomes February. That is worth $500. Paying it every single year for $12 of pink liquid and 4 minutes of aerosol is not. Drop a comment and tell me what is on your transom, how many hours are on it, and what your yard quoted you this fall. I want to see the spread, because I suspect it is uglier than the published sheets. Here is the part I want you to keep. You were never overcharged because you are careless with money. You were overcharged because the one step that actually matters, poking a wire through a drain hole until water runs out, is unglamorous, unphotographable, and impossible to sell. So the invoice gets built around the parts you can see. Nobody pays this channel to say any of that. No sponsors, no dealer arrangements, no affiliate links, which is exactly why I can read a rate sheet out loud and name the yard printed on it. YouTube thinks you will like this next video, so go click it. And if you made it to the end of a video about drain plugs, you are exactly the kind of person who should subscribe.